Okay, so Mr. Tamhane, let's start with the
Yeah,
interview.
yeah,
Uh, so you joined NEUFC in 2023. Uh,
yeah.
s- I mean, why is this switch from Bengaluru FC to
No, I think
NEFC?
I had good 10 years at Bengaluru FC, and I had to move on for some reasons, which obviously I can't speak in detail about that. But
Mhm.
post I left in January 2023 for 3 months, I had decided that I wouldn't do anything. I just wanted
Mhm.
to, just relax and unwind, so to say. And during that period, obviously, I had around 5 to 6 offers from different ISL clubs. I had a couple of offers from a couple of IPL clubs also. But I was not too keen to, get into any sort of, commitment immediately.
Mhm.
And then, obviously, I had a opportunity to chat with John, where he asked me almost after 2.5, 3 months as to if I had, taken a decision to join any other club. And at that point of time, I had just started thinking about joining one of the ISL clubs. I would not like to again take the name because it would be inappropriate for me to do that. But I was well, I had thought that maybe that was the right move for me to move to that club. So I told him this is what is in my mind, but obviously no final decision has been taken. And then he asked me, would I consider joining Northeast as a, or is it something that it's not possible at all because whatever we finished last or it's not been doing anything, so that's something that you wouldn't want to consider. So told him that no, there is no fixated ideas that I want this or I don't want this, but for me to work anywhere, I need to understand the owners. The owners need to understand me, and obviously, what is the vision in terms of how we want to take the club forward, etc., etc. So there were many such factors which probably will make my final decision. And he asked me, "How will you know that whether the owner is good or bad? What defines that?" So I said, "What do you want at the club right now immediately?" So he said, "We want to hire the head coach." So, okay, I said, let's do the process of hiring the head coach on a voluntarily basis. I'm not employed with you, nor am I consulting you. It is just out of goodwill that we will engage in the process of hiring a head coach. And during that process, you will know how I work and I will know how you work. And that will make things easier for you or me to take the decision whether we want this marriage to happen or not. And we had this process of almost a month and a half, where we interviewed, shortlisted a few coaches, interviewed them, then again shortlisted. And then finally, we came to a mutual consensus that Juan Pedro Benali should be the coach that is the right candidate to take the club forward.
Right.
And during this process of almost, I think, 5 weeks or so, I realized that John, as a human being, first of all, is absolutely top. There is no question. And I like to work with good people. So that clicked the first criteria that I believe in. Secondly, I mean, surprisingly for me at least, he had tremendous knowledge about Indian football, and I'm being very specific, Indian football, because normally everybody has knowledge about football. You talk about the Messis and the Ronaldos of the world, but there are not many people who talk about Indian football. And he had absolute great knowledge about Indian football, and especially with regards to players, coaches, foreign players, Indian players that have played in India or were playing in India. So for me, then it becomes a very good equation to talk and discuss, where then there is some good, healthy debates that can happen, good conversations, meaningful conversations that can happen. So that was the second factor, that was the tick mark. And third, what I've always done when I've worked in football for the past 24, 25 years is I should work in a manner which I can help to develop Indian football. And I felt if I'm in a position to work in a region which is so popular for football, where you see almost 62% of players coming from the Northeast region uh,
Yes.
in Indian football, whether it's the ISL or the I League or the I League 2 or the I League 3 or even youth football or academies. Uh, and if I'm able to contribute something there which can make a meaningful impact, not just to the club, but to the region, it will definitely impact Indian football. So for
Right.
me, that was the most exciting part for me. to be able to work in a region which is known for the sport, and which with the help of everybody, all the relevant stakeholders, we will be probably be able to make a meaningful impact to the region and to the sport.
Right.
Also, the fact that if you see all the clubs in India, they either represent a city or a state, right? Northeast is a club which represents 8 states, and that means that's a bigger responsibility and a bigger role to play where you can actually impact 8 states. And for me, that's another exciting part which I felt, see whether they were last or whether they are doing this thing and not. That thing was never a question because I know what I can bring to the table. So for me, it was more about how I can make any meaningful impact, and I felt this probably in my in my space will be a very big challenge for me, and it will challenge me, to deliver. And hence I felt it was probably the right step for me after Bengaluru FC. And I think, and I'm happy. I can definitely say so that we are on the right track. I'm not satisfied, but I can say I'm happy that we are on the right track. And I think there is a lot more good work that we can do in all the 8 states and make more meaningful contribution.
Right. So after you joined, Durand Cup 2024 was the first year of the season.
Yeah.
So, yes. So how did you achieve that? What was your strategy?
No, I think obviously when you are in sport, you want to win every time, right? You never go into a sport to lose. But that's theoretical. I mean, it never happens every time. Even the best of teams in the world have never won everything, right? So I normally don't believe in. I just want to believe in the process of how we can, you know, put the right foundations in place. Whether it is getting the right people on board, whether it is on the pitch or whether it is off the pitch, putting basic systems in place which are not any rocket science, but ensuring that you give importance to that very basic things which actually matter for a player or a coach. We are administrators. We are there to support them. We have to look at the players and coaches are our assets, and that's how the decision
Right.
making then has to happen. Unless and until we treat
Right.
them as our assets, you will never be able to extract the best out of them. And for me, I just concentrate on the process, and for me, I enjoy this process. Results will come, whether it's good or bad. It's part and parcel of sport. So there was no such specific thing that I did something to win a Durand I think we just valued the people that we brought into the club, whether it's the coaches, whether it's the players. I think even the non coaching staff that I have at the club, whether it's, for example, Amol on this call, or there are other people that work with me outside of the pitch. I think even their role normally is never known to people because you always see the players and the coaches. But I think these people for me matter a lot in any organization. Even at Bengaluru FC, I had people who worked with me for 10 years, for 8 years, for 5 years, and they've always stuck with me because I mean, I enjoy working with good people, and I think that probably is one of the strength that we had at the club. Obviously, one being a very good coach, we were happy to have him, and I think he's leading the club in a right way. We have got good players, good
Right.
foreign players, good Indian players, and I think this all has to come together in every possible way. You need a bit of luck also. You need a big and you need a lot of support from the other stakeholders which matter to you. For us, it's all the state FAs of the northeast region, the governments of the northeast region. There are other well wishers, who are there with us, who have supported us. I think it's a package thing, and for us, for me, it's this is this we value in all these relationships and all these people that work at the club. And I think that's the basic thing. I think the rest of the things, then obviously you sign a good player, then you sign a good coach, you guys sign a good staff, you get this signing, you that signing. That's all part and parcel of sports. So I think these are the things that come later. But I think the most important thing is getting good people at the club and giving importance to your assets, which is your players and coaches, and then obviously taking the right decision, which is in interest of the organization and the players and your coaches.
Right, right. So, so far, NUFC had a like tough fight in the ISL. I mean, of the last 5 matches, I think they won one. So, how
Yeah.
confident are you about winning the cup I mean, last time in one of the interviews, you said you were pretty confident that this time NUFC will shine in ISL. So, how confident are you after the matches?
No, see, for us, the first step for a club like us, which is a club which is not financially backed by a corporate. And this is one of the reasons also where I chose to join Northeast, because here John Abraham as an individual is putting his personal money here. It's not a corporate, which is a corporate organization which is doing. So in this situation, my job or my thought process is to give value for money for my owner.
Right,
When it regards to the players. Uh,
right.
Today we know the Indian market, in terms of the Indian players especially, is a very expensive market. It's a very strong market where you need to spend a lot of money. But I believe that, and I have no problem players earning money. They should earn money because that's their livelihood. But it's my personal opinion that uh, if I'm giving somebody 10 rupees, am I getting 10 rupees worth it from the pitch from him? Today we have players who are earning, say, very high salaries, and there are players which are earning very low salaries. Obviously, the money difference is huge, but is that money difference proportionate to the difference of what they perform on the pitch? For me, it is not. It's not proportionate. So for me, I am trying to build a sort of a sustainable model with regards to the financial aspect of the sport, where I'm able to build a system where I can have value for money players which deliver by providing them with a good system, with a good foundations where they are also confident to perform and probably punch above their weight, so to say. So that's been our goal for the past 1.5 years at the club, to ensure. I can confidently say that we are probably the least expensive team or the most economical team that we have had today at Northeast compared to the all other 12 ISL clubs that are playing, and I can 100% vouch for that. So for us, when we are working on that thought process, uh, qualifying in the top six is the first step for us to qualify for the playoff in the ISL. And for us, as we mentioned in the past 5-6 games, we just won one match, but we drew 4 to 5 games. For me, that's 5 points gained. When you draw 5 matches, you have gained 5 points, and these 5 points only are going to make me qualify probably to the playoffs. So I look at it in that manner. I don't look at it that I've lost, so many points. I look at I've gained 5 points, and then I've gained 3 points in the win that we did last match against Hyderabad. They've earned 8 points. And today,
Right.
when the league is so close, where every team is so close to each other, this point is going to be the most important thing, which will help me probably qualify, for the playoff. So I look at that in a more positive way, that we have been unbeaten for the past 6 to 7 games in the ISL.
Right.
For a club with like us, I think it's a big. I feel proud of all the players and the coaches, the way they are doing. But I still feel it's not a job done. We still have 18 points to play for, which is 6 into 3, 6 matches remaining, and 18 points is a big margin to either qualify or not qualify, or then qualify as a third team or a fourth team or a second team also, for that matter, right?
Right.
So I think it's still a long way to go.
Right.
What matters is our next match against Odisha. How
Yes.
many points we can win there is what is next up in my mind, and I'm pretty sure the same thing is in the mind of the players and the coaches. So I think that's how we look at it. We take one game at a time. We want to concentrate one game at a time, and I think so far, if you compare ourselves compared to the last season, I think we have already gained more points than what we had gained last season. So that's a
Yes.
first step, which we feel we are on the right track to then qualify for the top six, maybe. And
Yes.
I'm pretty sure that in the 6 games, we will come out strongly to, ensure that we cement our place in the top six and
Right.
qualify for the playoffs.
Right. So, what do you have to say about the so far about the performance of the players in the team from the Northeast?
I think everybody is doing their best. Everybody is performing at their best ability. Players will always have you know uh, some great days, some not so great days, but that's part and parcel of sport. But what matters is the intent that they come on when they step on the pitch wearing a Northeast jersey, That intent is very visible. So I'm very happy with that. I'm very happy with the way the coaching staff has been really working hard in, we just see, the match days, but the hard work that goes prior to that in preparation for the game, assessing our own team, analyzing the opponent team, and then
Yes.
having a certain, strategy in place for the next game. I think there's a lot of hard work which goes, and our coaching staff has been doing a great job. So I think I'm so far very happy with what I see. I'm very happy, especially with the young Indian players.
Right.
Players like McCartan,
Right.
playing like Parthib, they are doing very well. That's a platform for such young players to, make an impact in the Indian football ecosystem. We want our players to play for India. We aspire, and we want them to not just shine for Northeast, but go on to play for the Indian national team. We had Jitin, who played recently for the Indian national team. He's the first player, Northeast player, playing for Northeast and playing for the senior national team. And for us, that was the first step in the right direction, is what I feel. We expect more such players to, perform. We've got Ashri Akhtar, who's doing very well. We've got Dinesh, who's been doing very well. We've got Samte, who's been doing very well, the Manipur kid. We've got Maikanand, who's come from in I League and is creating a very good impact. He was the man of the match also for the last game that we played against Hyderabad. So I think these are the players who are coming out of their comfort zone and stepping up and making an impact. And for me, that is very important. Obviously, in terms of the foreigners, we've got a very good bunch of foreigners who want to help the youngsters. We've got three Moroccan and three Spanish guys. So I think they have gelled well with the squad. Obviously, they are players. You want your foreigners to be impact players, and we are seeing that they are
Right.
definitely making an impact. Whether it is our captain Zabako, who's solid at the back. We've obviously got Bemamar, who's sort of the engine, who's like our backbone of our team. And obviously, everybody is talking about Aladdin, and happy that he's performing well. He's the highest goal scorer so far. But I think apart from all these guys being good players, they are great human beings. They are people who are gelling well, who want even the younger Indian players to improve. And I think that's the kind of environment you want in the dressing room, where everybody is thriving, to
Right.
each other's energies, and trying to excel and improve. So I think it's a good mix of players that we have, and I think I'm very proud of them the way they have performed so far, and I'm pretty sure and I'm confident that they will be doing a lot more better for us to reach the playoffs and even go beyond.
Right, right. So, NUFC have already signed an MOU with the Meghalaya government to set up an academy.
Yeah.
So, what is the progress in the
Yeah. So we are obviously the
center of excellence for
yeah,
football?
yeah. So the MOU has been done by the government,
Mm-hmm.
and the land allocation letter also has been given to us.
Mm-hmm.
I think by end of February, I think there is some council elections in Meghalaya right now.
Yes.
I think in the next months. Once that is over, I think the government will be flattening the land, because the land is a very hilly region. So I think that's something which the government will take up once their council elections are over, and
Mm-hmm.
that's when then we come in, and then we look at our basis the contour drawing of the actual land parcel that is coming to us after it's been leveled. Then we will be working with our architects to put in obviously the structure in place, and then the work will immediately start. So
Okay.
that's where we are, and hopefully in the next 2 to 3 months, we will be in the direction to start work in that place.
So, what is the deadline that you're looking at to complete the academy and start it?
So there is no such deadline that we are looking at. We want to start it as soon as possible. Uh, there's one that's a wish that we have, but there are many other factors that materialize. There is financial side to it. There is
Right.
from the government side. Obviously, there is no such time constraints for us. They have been more than helpful and very progressive in our vision to take this thing forward.
Right.
So yeah, we want to start it as soon as possible. If you ask me when do you want to start, I would have said probably last month. But for us, no sooner we start the work, our goal would be to start it as soon as possible, because I think that will be a sort of a game
Right.
changer for
Right.
our sport in our region.
Right, right. Also, NUFC want to set up satellite units across the region. So, I mean, how is that progressing with other states, other northeastern states? And like, I mean, how are you envisioning it?
So we have obviously progressed a lot as far as Meghalaya, Assam, and Arunachal Pradesh. These three states, our MOU are in place.
Mm-hmm.
The infrastructure is in place. We are now in a final stage
Mm-hmm.
to, get going with the respective governments and respective state associations, football
Right,
associations there,
right.
to put this in the next step. So most probably in the coming academic year, which is from June 2025 to May 2026,
Mm-hmm.
in this academic year, we'll have a few of our day boarding centers in place, which is for the local people. It's not a residential; it's a non-residential centers where people will be staying. The kids will be staying at their homes and then coming to these centers to train weekly, maybe 3 times a week or 4 times a week. So
Okay.
those uh, areas in these three states, we are definitely progressing. We obviously have started the. We already did our scouting of the players in 6 of the 8 states. We were unable to go to Tripura and Nagaland. Remaining 6 states, we have already did the scouting. Uh, in our reserves and our under 17. And out of the squad of 30, we have almost 23 kids scouted from our scouting, which we did in the 7 to 8 months prior in the 6 states. So we have almost 22 kids out of the 30 that in our reserve and under 17 would come from the region. We will start from with our second phase of scouting now in the next 3 months, and that will then target first with Tripura and Nagaland, and then obviously we'll be going into the other 6 states. With every state, the working will be different because the ecosystem, the infrastructure, the state association there, it's all different in every state. But for us in every state, we value two partners. One is obviously the state government, and second is obviously the state football association that is existing there. So in every state, we will be working with these two major partners for us, and idea is to ensure that the existing infrastructure is utilized at its optimum level. Second thing is to ensure that we have good coaches, local coaches, to ensure that their coaches are licensed to a higher level from D, C, B, and A. So we will work very closely with the AIFF as well as the respective state associations to ensure that we create these coaching courses for the local coaches to upgrade themselves to the highest coaching badges. And also the third thing is to create youth
Right.
competition, because apart from infrastructure and coaching, the third most important thing from a development point of view is to ensure that we have a robust competition network from the lowest age group, which is the under 7 to maybe under 17. So these are the three factors or the three areas that we will want to engage with every state, out of which three of these states we are very much on course. In Guwahati, we have associated ourselves with the Guwahati Sports Association, and since the past 2 years, we have conducted the kids league there, which is the under 7, 9s, 11s, 13s, 15s, and 17s, and we finished second year successfully again with the help of the Guwahati Sports Association, and they have been absolutely proactive and very good in the administrating these two leagues, and likewise we have plan to do similar league now in Arunachal Pradesh in Itanagar to start off with. So it's a whole ecosystem that slowly we will build. Obviously, in Meghalaya and Mizoram, there are such youth leagues already happening. There are local leagues that are definitely happening. We will want to strengthen those local leagues
Yes.
by ensuring that the uh, number of matches increase, because at the end of the day you want these kids to play 40, 50 matches every season. So how we can further increase these number of matches in existing states which are already focused or already doing meaningful work at grassroots and youth development.
Right. Also, you had earlier said that NUFC have plans to set up women's team. So, in that regard,
Yeah,
when you're scouting for talents in the Northeast, where I mean, women, I mean, there are so many women footballers, good
correct, of course,
footballers.
of course.
Yes. So, I mean, how are you planning to do that first? And also, are you planning to collaborate with players like Bem Bem Devi? to scout for talents or train them?
So right now, what we are doing is obviously uh, in Guwahati, our residential facility is only for the under 17 and the reserve team boys. Um, we don't have a residential facility for the girls team. We have local girls team, which is from the vicinity, Guwahati and the outskirts, which are regularly training. Uh, we have given our letter of interest for participating in the IWL 2, which is
Right.
the Women's League 2, which is
Right.
going to start in the next 2-3 months,
Mm-hmm.
for which we will have outstation girls also coming in. We have a few girls that we have spoken about which are doing well in Kokrajar, for example, which will join us. There'll be a few girls also from other parts where we are very very keen and very very strong headed when it comes to women's football, but we want this women's league to be a bit more longer. It is just having a 2 months competition is not a meaningful it is a contribution and other clubs are doing that, but it is
Right.
not a meaningful contribution. Ideally you would want to train these girls right throughout the year and play
Right.
competition at least for 6 to 7 months, which
Right.
can then impact the actual
Right.
women's ecosystem. So till that time that system is not that robust, we will try and chip in wherever possible. But definitely we will play in the IWL 2, and we will have some girls to come from different parts who are good and incorporate into the system for these 1.5 2 months when the competition is going on. We want also um, the ex players from the region to help us do that. You mentioned Bembem Devi. Bala Devi is somebody
Yeah.
that I have personally also closely worked with. When we had, through our partnership with the Rangers, helped her secure a contract in Scotland with Rangers. So I think Bembem Devi and Bala are the two promising girls. Obviously, there is Ashalata Devi, who's currently also playing with the Indian national team. There are many girls, obviously, which are playing currently with the Indian national team. But ideally, you would look at Bim and Bala to, we will obviously use their services as we also become. See, today they are great players. Today they have achieved at the highest level. And if I have to use their services, I have to have a very good system here for which they can make a meaningful contribution. I cannot just be haphazard and say, "Bus, I'm doing a grassroots system. Please contribute." I have to create something which is at their stature, where they will be also able to then make a meaningful contribution, which can then help us galvanize the whole system. So that is obviously in our minds, and we will
Right.
definitely reach out to them when we are in the right space to take their help.
Right, right. I'll end the interview with one question. As a
Yeah.
football enthusiast, I mean, what do you think where India as a country stands when it comes to world football? You said earlier that, I mean, people do talk about international football, footballers. Not many talk about the history of Indian football or the Indian football scenario. So, I mean, as a football enthusiast, where do you think the country stands? When can we have a World Cup entry?
No, I think I'll answer this question in two steps. One is I feel there's a lot more to do. I think there are a lot of people, a lot of stakeholders who are doing a lot, but I think that's not enough. I think there is still a lot more to do.
Yes.
I feel instead of looking at when we playing the World Cup, should not. I mean, obviously that's everybody's dream, but I think that's way away right now from where we are right now. I think the first goal for us should be how can we be a top 8 team consistently in Asia. For me, that's the first step that we need to look at. And the decision, see, today, what do you want to do? I want to play the World Cup, but how do you do that? It's very easy to say that we want to play the World Cup, but how can we do that? And what efforts are we taking to ensure that we lead up to that? Right. So the first step should be that we should look at how consistently we can be in the top 8. The senior team I'm talking about in Asia. Once we are consistently playing AFC Asian Cup, how we can go into the second round of AFC Asian Cup. This
Right.
is as far as the first team is concerned. As far as our youth teams is concerned, how can our youth teams consistently be a part of, say, the AFC Asian Under 16 qualifiers? How we can be consistently playing the Under 17 World Cup? How we can be consistently playing Under 19 World Cup? And not by virtue of being a host, but by virtue of qualifying. If these things happen, these are the same kids or majority of the core of these kids are only going to be the ones who are going to play into the World Cup. So are we planning something which is a 5-year plan, a 10-year plan, a 15-year plan, and are we sticking to that? Plans, enough and more plans have been made in the past, but
Right. Right.
unfortunately, with change in personnel, these plans also go for a toss. So by then, whatever has been invested in those plans for the limited 3, 4, 5 years is again goes down the drain. So I think there has to be a good decisive administration that is needed to have a, not that the current one is not, but I think we need more. My
Yes.
point is that there is always more that can be done, and I think that's how we look at. Everybody talks about India being a sleeping giant, and I've been hearing this for the past 20 years that I've been in Indian football. But this sleeping giant is too slow to wake up. I don't know when we are going to and how we are going to wake him up. I think it needs to be waken up quickly, because otherwise it's been snoring for quite some time. And sometimes it little bit changes directions, opens his eyes, and then sleeps again. But we want it to be up and ready, warmed up and running and sprinting, and not just turning sides here and there. Uh, in my past 25 years, there's definitely been a growth in Indian football for sure. But I just feel this growth is too slow. It's time has come now that the growth has to be fast.
Right.
There is a lot of support from different stakeholders. We've got government playing its part, various governments, the sports ministry is playing its part. We have got the IFF playing its part. We have got corporates like ISL and FSDL playing its part. There are club owners, club administrators, but I think still a lot needs to be done, and all these stakeholders have to still step up and make their mark felt so that we can be the consistent top 8, top 5 teams in Asia, and then and by virtue of which then look to maybe qualify for the World Cup, which we all want to happen.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Tamhane. Thank you for joining the interview with Meghalaya Monitor for your time.
Yes.
Thank you, Amol, also for joining.
Thank you so much. Thanks a lot for your time, and
And
hope to see
all
you
the
soon.
best for the next match.
And I hope to see you soon at the games in Shillong.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Before that,
Thank you.
like all the best for the February 3rd match
Thank you so
against
much.
Pakistan.
Thank you
So,
so much. Thanks a lot. Bye
yes,
bye.
yes,
Bye.
bye. Thank you.